Can you guys all say Team Say on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Marianne with Teen Say. Pela Soto from Poison Control. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Marianne. It's good to see you again.
You too. Are you working from home?
I am, and most of our staff is. We at the National Capital Poison Center, we only have we have limited staff, so we are worried. We don't want anyone to get sick. We want to make sure that Poison Control stays open and is there for everybody. So for that reason, we did all separate, and everybody is well, and we're going strong.
Great. We love that because we really need you guys. And as we spoke about on our other shows, everybody often starts out with, I have a dumb question for you. Right?
Absolutely.
How many times a week would you say you hear that line?
I probably hear it daily.
College students are getting ready to go. With COVID, we don't know. If they are in trouble, whether it be from drinking too much or medicine and drinking or just medicine and drugs, or maybe they took the wrong medicine or too much medicine, is it a confidential call?
It is, and I really think that this is a really nice low bar for people to be able to call. You know, it's on the phone. You don't have to face anybody. It is completely an interaction between a healthcare provider, so it's a private medical chart essentially that we're making. And, you know, it can be a very good place to start and understand if you really are in trouble or not. I talk to a lot of really bright young people who are really worried about themselves, you know, for different situations. And sometimes it's a problem, and a lot of times it's not. But it's nice you shouldn't guess. You know,
No.
if you think you're in trouble, something's going on in your head that you know something might not be right, and you should check it out.
And on top of Adderall, which is having some overlapping effects, you can feel extremely anxious. You can feel palpitations.
Oh, wow.
You know, it can make you feel it can be very scary. And
Could Adderall and coffee give you a heart attack?
Theoretically, yeah, it could. I mean, They both are, you know, implicated in causing cardiac issues, especially with too much. Mm-hmm. So those are the times where you really have to listen to your body and understand that, you know, having Adderall does not mean you cannot drink coffee or take in caffeine.
If they're on a little dose.
Exactly.
And they have 1 cup,
exactly.
I heard that's okay.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And, you know, there are people who drink a lot of coffee all day long and they're okay with it, but you have to go slowly and see where your, you know, your limit is.
So would you call the police on them if they took, let's say if they were intoxicated, took drugs and were on drugs?
And no, that's not our role at all. Our role is completely just being safe. And I also like to assure young people and adults as well that, you know, the ER, even if you do have to go to the ER, if we decide, you know, whatever happened is too dangerous for you to watch at home and it just would be safer to go into an emergency department, you know, the physicians and nurses there are also not there to get you. They really honestly are too busy taking care of people for health reasons, and it's not their role either. Their role is making sure people are safe and cared for. So never ever let that, you know, delay or derail you from seeking help, because it's really that's not the point there, and it's understandable why they would think that, though.
Yeah. And I'm sure they see a lot of, we're going to go here next, I'm sure they see a lot of alcohol poisoning and even drug mixing with the alcohol poisoning at the ER.
And that can be, yes, they see it all the time, and they're really not, I mean, fazed by it. You know, it's something that, I mean, is every night, definitely on the weekends, and it's just they treat it just like anything else. You know, it becomes like any other job. You see the same things again and again, and you know, you kind of know what to do for it.
Right. Okay. So educate us on what medications to avoid if you're going to be drinking.
Yeah, I think if, you know, this is my opinion, but I have some background for why I think so, why I think these things. I think that if you are, first of all, always check to make sure there's no drug interaction. There are some things like Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, interacts with alcohol, and it makes both components can be a little bit more toxic to the liver. So there's things like that, but then there's other things to consider, such as drugs like Benadryl or anything that makes you drowsy is going to be additive. Alcohol is a depressant. It makes your brain activity slow down. And so if you add on something else to it that's also a little bit of a downer or a sleeping medicine, it can really be additive, and it can affect breathing or heart rate more, or make you just more, clumsy, more, more likely to get into an accident, all sorts of things. And then the third thing, I think.
Well, let me back you up there. Let's say a person has allergies and they have a drink with something they're allergic to, whether it be a fruit juice or, people have cross-contaminated with foods.
Sure.
And the person is drinking. Can the person take Benadryl, or what's the person going to do?
Yeah, I think I would definitely call poison control, or call your doctor, or call a pharmacist.
I think at that point, though, they're dialing 911 for an allergic reaction, unless it's mild, right?
Yes, exactly. People who have allergic reactions, if they are, most people who've had them kind of know when the triggers are, and you do a risk benefit kind of in every situation.
Yeah.
If it was a really bad drug allergy, even if somebody was drinking, you take the Benadryl, you call 911 and take the Benadryl at the same time. And
EpiPen too?
it shouldn't be a problem at all. But yeah, I would definitely err on the side of doing that.
Okay, so let's say they have to dial 911 and because they're having an allergic reaction, but they're out drinking with their friends, and they're underage. Again, they're not going to be arrested?
No, yeah, no way. I don't think
People
so.
want to help
No
them?
way.
Yeah,
people
you
want to
never
help.
know, because people panic, kids
That's
panic,
right.
and they don't want to get in trouble, especially if they're freshmen drinking for the first time,
Yeah.
or just not familiar with the rules and the laws. So
That's
I
right.
want to make sure they stress on, caution and protecting themselves from dying, or
Yeah.
something more serious from a silly anaphylactic reaction that could be
Yeah.
prevented. Yeah. So alcohol poisoning. Tell
Yeah.
us about alcohol poisoning. How much does one have to drink? So I've seen kids, okay, at parties where they're like just pouring the vodka. They're not measuring shots. They're just like right into their iced tea or something. And I'm like, oh, did you see what they just did?
That gets really very tricky. And, there are some cases, Marianne, you and I have talked about before, with things like, drug facilitated sexual assault.
Yes.
When you go back and then, you are tasked with trying to remember how much you drank, how are you supposed to quantify that? And, I know that's kind of taking a step beyond a step in worst case scenario, but it can creep up on you. And especially if you have it in a mixer, or maybe the mixer is sweet and you don't taste it. It's really easy. The difference between 2 shots and 4 shots, is a big deal. So, I just be mindful. I mean, listen, we've all been, young before, and I get, I get it, but just being mindful of those things, like, perhaps, you drink the things you're used to drinking, if possible, a metered dose, such as a can of beer, is possibly better than free pouring a bottle of vodka, so at least you kind of know what you're getting in a way.
Right. And I remember when my kids were young, I practiced. I took 2 shot glasses out, a double shot and a regular shot, and I showed them with water, how much this was, and then I poured it in a glass just to give them an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But, if kids are just pouring into, into an iced tea or a Coke can or a Gatorade bottle, they don't know what they're doing. They're just like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you really might not taste it, especially, I think that when people don't, maybe they're coming to college for the first time and you're not, as experienced, and You know, you go to parties and sometimes they'll have just a big bowl of some kind
Oh,
of mystery punch.
which
And,
I would
you
not
know,
drink.
yeah, I mean, guess what? They're probably not springing for like the good stuff. And, you know, if
Yeah.
anything, you know, it might be like, you know, very high proof alcohol in there, like 151 or something, something
Ugh.
really high proof that is just, yeah, you can
They
sneak
might be
past
putting
it.
stuff in it for kicks too. I mean, I wouldn't
Hmm.
drink that punch if you paid me.
No, no, yeah, I would definitely, I know. I think that's a good tip. Of,
Even if they have to pay for their alcohol because they're like, oh, well, that's free. I mean, there's nothing
yeah,
in life that's free. That ER
that's
visit's going to
right.
be costly.
That's right. That's right.
So they're over 18, so their parents won't be called if they get alcohol poisoning unless they call their parents.
That's right.
So what are the signs of alcohol poisoning?
We pretty much, some of the things that you will pretty much always see are first of all, your stomach is really, really irritated. And we forget that alcohol is an irritant. You know, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know, you touch alcohol, you know, it's cool. It's an irritating substance. So when you have a lot of it,
Mhm.
your stomach is just really, it's like irritated and a little bit inflamed. So what happens then is that you are sometimes not able to keep down fluids and you have like the vomiting, and
Yeah.
then you have a lot of nausea, and it's kind of a cycle where you can't replenish your fluids and you're so thirsty and you can't drink, so you try to chug a bunch of water and then you throw that
Oh,
up, and it's like a whole, you know, it's really,
it's terrible.
yeah, I know, it's just not
Why
fun.
do they do that? I've seen videos like they're laying on the floor, like Gaudy's call, the one we covered, with the
Yeah,
drug coalition, and
yeah,
you see kids laying on the toilet and just or on the
yeah,
floor, and other people,
yeah,
people's,
yeah.
you're
And
like, why drink to that point?
well,
But
and I think
like you
that
said, it creeps up on you.
it creeps up on you, and you know, next
What
thing
if
you
they
know,
make themselves vomit because they are afraid that, or somebody else makes them vomit because they're afraid
yeah.
that person's going to have alcohol poisoning?
A lot of times when people are trying to do that, it's way too late. You know, it's
Oh,
like if the person's already, you know,
yeah.
hugging the toilet, or if they're already, you know, down, you're probably not going to get up something that's going to be helpful. So, and it gets dangerous too when somebody's sedated. If you're inducing vomiting, we always worry about them inhaling the vomit by accident and aspirating it, which is just way worse.
Yeah.
Usually inducing vomiting just doesn't do anything but create more possible harm.
Yeah. Okay. So they shouldn't say, oh, I drank too much, let me try and throw up. No.
No, not really. Yeah.
What about when their friends say, oh my gosh, like, we got to carry him, we got to carry her, you know, they're so drunk, they'll sleep it off. So
Hmm.
in the case I was talking about in the video where they were educating, he didn't sleep it off, and he actually aspirated and suffocated from
Yeah.
that, obviously. Um, and they put him on his side, I guess, or something, but it didn't do any good.
Yeah. The side position does help. It can help, particularly your left side. But yeah, it's too, you know, to leave somebody there. If you were going to take on that responsibility of somebody who's going to sleep it off, I mean, somebody should probably be watching them. Or if they're that bad, they should probably just take them into an emergency room to be watched, because it happens. I mean, it happens a lot. You know,
But
the
they don't
breathing
want
is
to do that.
suppressed.
They say everybody drinks to blackout drunk sometimes.
Yeah.
I've heard this a ton of times over and over. They'll sleep it off. They'll sleep it off. And, you know,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to communicate that. I think, you know, when it's a pretty common thing, and you know, fact is, you usually do get away with it, but it's just like everything else. You know, it's like driving a car and, you know, taking a swim and everything else. You know, there's always some inherent risks, but that's a very controllable risk. You know, if you can really understand that, and you know,
so if you stay with the person, what are you watching for if they're sleeping? You just want to hear if they wake up and start throwing up? I mean,
want
are
to
they
hear,
going to wake up? Is the only risk like aspiration?
yeah,
Or is the risk that they go to sleep and they don't wake up?
the breathing could become so suppressed that they can die from lack of oxygen. That's not probably as common as aspirating on vomit, though. So you would be watching, if somebody's kind of in between where you feel like you could watch them at home, you would be looking just to make sure they were breathing and just frankly just
Right.
breathing, and then help them if they have to vomit. Make sure that they can get it out and they're on their side, and help them. And if you get through the next couple of hours, you're probably okay. But then after that, it becomes that whole issue of the rehydration. And what normally gets people into the emergency room is that they cannot take any fluids, so they need IV fluids, and usually an anti-nausea medicine, like a prescription strength one.
Wow.
Sometimes that's the only thing. If you're most people are able to take those. Excuse me. There are some drug interactions, but most people are able to take those anti-nausea medicines, and that's typically why somebody would go into the emergency room. But the dehydration is a big deal. If you cannot take fluids for 24 hours, and you're throwing up a bunch, you're messing up your electrolytes, your potassium and your sodium, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. So I cut you off before. Tell me what other drugs other than Tylenol, because kids take a lot of medications nowadays, the antidepressants, Adderall. I know we've talked about this a ton of times, but just give it to us quick. Are there definite no's?
Yeah, I think my definite no's for drinking and mixing drugs.
Advil?
Advil is not the worst in my opinion. They are kind of rough on the stomach. You'll see that there's a warning on the label about not to drink more than 2 drinks a day. That has to do with an increased risk of bleeding, and because the alcohol is irritating the stomach lining, it kind of works together against you, so it can cause some more stomach discomfort, and even potential for like a stomach bleed, but not common. Like in a one-time dose should not happen. So that's Advil or Motrin is probably, or even aspirin, although those are a little bit rough on the stomach, they're probably better than Tylenol in a hangover case, if you're trying to treat a hangover. My other drugs for totally avoiding are the stimulants in general, like Adderall or Ritalin. Any kind of stimulant type of medication can just cause you to drink a little bit more than you might normally, because you are not picking up on that depressant effect. However, the worry is that, maybe you keep drinking and then eventually that Adderall wears off, and then now you are kind of in a little bit deeper than you thought or meant to be in terms of the alcohol consumption. So those can be dangerous in that
I guess
way.
that could creep up on you real quick.
That could really creep up on you for sure.
So
I think in general, we want to avoid anything sedative, and acetaminophen and stimulants, in general, or at least see how you react to them. And some medicines just cannot be taken with alcohol.
So would they skip like if they knew it was a Friday, would they skip their Adderall in school that day but then they have side effects to that as well, right?
Yeah.
Or Ritalin or whatever they're on, right?
I think each case can be different with taking medications and drinking alcohol. Sometimes it is going to be better to hold the medication. I would definitely say to talk to the doctor. Again, even your primary care physician, you should always be super honest with your doctor, because it's really, again, they're also not there to get you. They're there to help you as well. So if you are literally saying, I'm planning on drinking this weekend, what should I do? They will probably tell you.
And if they have a doctor that doesn't communicate well with them, they get a new doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they should be able to be honest with their doctor and have a rapport.
Yeah, exactly.
Because mommy and daddy aren't standing there advocating for them or asking the questions for them anymore.
That's right. And most universities and colleges do have staff. They have a medical center there that, that you can go to. And, again, just like the emergency department, they've seen it all, and they're completely, I think in general nowadays, healthcare has kind of gone to a model of where it's more inclusive with the patient. You think about the old pharmacy days when, the wall was purposefully up high so that they couldn't see what was going on behind the counter, and so now it's a lot more open.
Is there anything you want to add for college students? So the Tylenol is no, even the next day.
Yeah, if you drink a lot, I say, if you drink a lot, if you drink excessively, if you're really hungover, I would skip the Tylenol the next day.
What about if they want to get something over the counter, like Prevacid, Nexium, something for the nausea?
Yeah, those are
or
usually
Tums,
okay.
or,
Yeah, Tums is super safe. No problem.
And get their Gatorade for hydration.
Yeah, yep. Sip on some fluids, whatever sounds good. Actually, sugar. Plain sugar is good for nausea. They make, glucose tabs. So having some kind of drink with real sugar in it, just taking little sips can help sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice do you want to give them?
My advice for you going to college is, first of all, I just hope you have a great time, and congratulations. Do as much as you can. When I first started out in my career, as a college student, I studied microbiology, and I thought I wanted to do benchtop research, and I did some, and I was able to do some benchtop research in college, and that's when I was able to realize that it wasn't really for me. So take this time. It's okay if you're going in not knowing what you want to do exactly. That's kind of what college is for. And try to do things that you can, volunteer at places that you might be interested in. And these are all ways you can get a kind of peek into what could be your future and really give you an informed idea of what you might be getting into.
Wow, that's really good advice. Yes, and we're going to talk to you on your journey in a little bit. So they can find out how to become a poison control specialist like you are. So we're trying to dabble in all the different journeys of the careers to help them out if they don't know what they want to be. So HOSA does that for medical students. We've done a couple of doctors for them. And we'll add you to theirs as well as a toxicologist. That is great advice. So thank you so much for caring about our youth and constantly talking to us. And I guess if they're looking for you, Pela, Soto at Poison Control, and they can call and maybe ask you some questions.
Absolutely. Well, anytime, we're always open, and we're there for you if you need us. From bug bites and snake bites to chemicals and fumes and, building products and, medicines, of course. And all sorts of things, drugs of abuse, all sorts of things. It's plants, plants, animals, it kind of covers a whole really broad variety of subjects. Anything can be a poison, it's
right.
Even water, the famous saying in toxicology is that, there's nothing that's not a poison. It's the dose that makes the poison. So it's basically, we get into many different things. If it's something that we don't do, we can usually at least get you in the right direction to somebody who does.
And that's the other thing I want to stress. Poison Control's main purpose, because they work with doctors too, the main purpose when we call poison control is to keep us out of the hospital if we can, and for you to tell us if we should induce vomiting, not induce vomiting, drink some Gatorade, eat some candy. You guys also call back, follow up the next day. So we appreciate that. We know that we're not paying for those services. You're a nonprofit. So of course donations help, and but college students don't have any money, so they're very happy.
That's okay. Well, that's okay. You certainly don't have to pay to call, and it's no problem. We definitely appreciate the donations, but that's, at the heart of it, it's a really wonderful thing to be able to provide, it's this very altruistic, kind of lofty aspiration to be able to talk to a specialist,
right.
just by calling, a phone number and being able to talk to them to somebody for free, is still just a wonderful thing. And it's not common. You try to get to a specialist and any other business, and you can't just call them for free. So it's a wonderful thing. And, it's especially now more than ever, we're very, we want to keep people out of the emergency department and not exposed to COVID and things like that. Yeah. So, I think that, if it's safe to do so, and most situations thankfully are safe to watch at home. So if there's a safe home treatment, we will tell you about it. We actually, I don't know if you know this, we don't induce vomiting anymore. They don't even sell Ipecac anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. They don't do that anymore.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I hate to vomit, so get poisoned. That's good. The other thing I wanted to stress was if they're in another country, they can still reach you if they're studying abroad. I know we've covered that before, but let's just cover that again.
Yeah. If you're abroad, make sure that you can call a 1-800 number. You will usually be able to get through to a poison center just by calling the 1-800-222-1222. If not, find out in your plan before you go. If not, you can also just find out your poison center is going to have a local number that will have whatever your local area code is, and you could just dial that directly. You could do that as well.
Okay. They might get somebody that's speaking to them in another language then.
Yes, other countries do have poison control centers, but they use a different number usually. So the 1-800 number, we get people who do call from overseas, but every kind of phone carrier, it seems like it's a little bit different.
Right. Okay. So side effects to medications as well. So they don't want to worry mom or dad in the middle of the night. They went to the doctor. They haven't told mom or dad they have strep throat or whatever. And they took their antibiotic and they feel really bad. They're vomiting, or, they just don't feel well, or they took another medicine and their heart's racing. Again, they can call you.
Yeah, call poison control and we'll tell you if that's normal or if that's expected. And, and if you need to seek help, right away or not. So, and a lot of times, some of these things, it's understandable. They're compounded by just anxiety of, oh no, I didn't tell my parents. Oh no, I'm having this drug reaction. Oh no, it's the middle of the night. I don't want to go to the emergency room. How am I going to pay for this? And so it kind of all compounds on top of each other. And so sometimes just the simple act of somebody telling you, like, listen, I am a doctor of pharmacy. I have seen this many times. I can tell you, you are most likely going to be okay here. Okay. And, if these things happen, that is a reason to, by all means, go to the emergency department if you do not feel well, trust yourself. But, these are things that we can manage at home. And just by talking it out usually people feel a lot better.
Right. Especially when they feel all alone and sick.
Yeah. It's scary. It's scary when you think you've poisoned yourself.
Yeah.
So we get that. Sure. We totally get that.
Sure. And even if they try a drug with their friends that they didn't want to try, and then they, they're scared, they go back to their place and they're like, oh my gosh, this is happening, that's happening. And I'm on this medicine from home. They can give you a call and they're
absolutely safe. Yep,
I just want to cover everything. So when it's up there in their head, that they can bring it down and give you guys a call. And it's better than calling mom or dad in a way, because you guys are very familiar with every drug, whereas mom or dad might say, oh my God, you did what?
Yeah.
How are you? Oh my God. And then make your own anxiety that much worse. Right.
Exactly. And if you Google something, you get the worst kind of case scenario. And it's like, yes, eating a piece of glass, could kill you in some ways, but like usually not. It's like there's very...
Wow, you cover that too, huh? Wow. I guess, if a glass breaks or has a sliver in it.
We get that call a lot and people get very upset. Yeah. And so we see so many weird things every single day that, we are oftentimes, helping talk people down some, and then the Googling, definitely, we all do it. But that a lot of times it's going to give you the worst case scenario and something that's not applicable to your situation. And,
right.
it's like, it's just better to you get a personal consult if you just speak with the person and we'll usually be able to help you out.
And look how nice she is. Thank you so much, Pela, for all your help
You're
today.
so welcome. Of course,
And
anytime. It was always nice talking with you, Marianne.
you too. Thanks again. Keep up the great work. And
Thank you.
Poison Control's number is up now.
Hi, I'm Marianne. Welcome to Teen Safe.
Can you guys all say Team Say on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Hey guys, Nick Gonzalez here. I am a former president of HOSA. HOSA stands for Health Occupational Students of America, and basically it's a class, academy class at your school or at a different school if you travel from another school, where you go and learn the basics of kind of the medical field and get a better understanding to see if you want to pursue farther in college and or careers.
What do you learn in HOSA?
So basically you learn the essentials of what kind of a nurse does. Takes blood pressure, takes vitals. We also learn how to use a tourniquet, stop the bleed it's called. And we also learn CPR, and we are CPR certified after that class.
So Nick, in school, do you invite medical professionals to come to your classes?
Yes, we actually do. I invited one myself. She was orthopedic, and she came in, showed us all the cool stuff she's been through and all the cool experience and certifications she's gone through and all the schooling, and it was a great experience. A few of my classmates have also done that too and brought in their family friends that are nurses, doctors, and it's awesome.
So that's what HOSA classes do? They invite medical professionals down? Why is that?
To get a better understanding of what they do on a day-to-day basis and see if we like it and want to be in the field.
So you think anyone that's contemplating the medical field should definitely take HOSA?
I strongly recommend it because it steered me away from it because I had a little interest, but not enough to carry me through the rest of the way.
What was the turning point for you?
8 years of school.
Okay. Wow, Pela Soto is with us today, a poison control specialist. She's our favorite person at Poison Control. She always helps us out with a lot of information. Hi, Pela, how are you today?
Hi, Marianne. I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. So today we would like you to share. The kids are off to college. Some may not know what they want to do. And we want to share how to become a poison control specialist, a toxicologist. And we know you are both or almost both. So can you tell us?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you tell us about your journey, your advice, and what you had to do what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations to everybody who's going away to college, or even if you're still thinking about it. One of the things that you probably may not have heard of before is being a poison specialist. And the way that I got here is I actually started out knowing that I really enjoyed the sciences. And I went to the University of South Florida and started out kind of just generally in biology, and then began to focus in on microbiology, which I found really interesting for some reason. You'll kind of find something that seems to grab you a little bit more than something else, and that's what happened to me. So I earned a bachelor's of science in microbiology, and I was interested in benchtop research. It was really cool. It was really fun. But
what is benchtop research?
Yeah, benchtop research. Good question. Benchtop is literally doing more of like, doing like vials and pipettes into things like literally on the bench top of like your science lab table versus doing studies in people and things like that. So in my situation, I thought that was really cool. And, with microbiology, you are dealing with things that you cannot see with a naked eye, and in benchtop research, and what I was interested in doing, it was kind of the same thing. So I ended up applying for a fellowship, and I got it, and it was a fellowship over the summer that was focused on doing research in bio-life sciences, and I got to do some research on like an anti-bioterrorism thing, and it
Wow.
sounded really cool, and
Yeah.
we got to, we were replicating DNA and doing all this fun stuff with it, and
Wow.
but although it was really cool and it was fun, it did become, kind of mundane. And I did end up staying on in that lab throughout the rest of my schooling, as like an elective. And it was fun, but I ultimately found that it was a little bit isolating for me. And so I decided.
You are definitely a people person, yes.
Yeah, I am. I think I am too. And these are things that you learn along the way. And I would have never known that had I not had that experience. So after completing that degree, I took some time off from school because I needed some time to figure out what I wanted to do.
After your bachelor's.
Yes, after my bachelor's.
Okay.
And then I worked out I actually worked as an operations manager at a staffing company, and I just really missed science so much. And I was reading scientific journals in my off time, and I realized, wow, that's actually my passion. This is actually what I really am interested in. And I decided to go back to school, and I found that George Washington University had a new program in pharmacogenomics.
Wow.
And it's another bachelor's program. They've since made it into a master's program, but at the time it was a bachelor's program. And it was I felt like a good way to get back into school mode again, because I'd been out at that point for like a year and a half or 2 years. So I did that. I got accepted to that program.
Was that an additional 4 years?
No, because I'd had quite a bit of the credits. It ended up being, it was actually only 2 years.
Okay.
But the second year also doubled as my first year of pharmacy school. So there's a lot of these kind of cool programs like that out there where you can earn dual degrees at the same time. So if you're interested in business plus you're interested in science, there's a lot of times these options out there, these degrees. And in this case, it was great because I did 1 year, which I felt was a nice ramp up to being back into school again, and then going right into my PharmD. So that I earned
Your PharmD?
Yeah, a Doctor of Pharmacy degree.
Okay.
And so to be a PharmD in general, you do not usually, depending on the school, you usually do not have to have a bachelor's degree. Many of them now are requiring it, but not all of them. Some of them you just have to have like an associate's degree, like an AA, 2 years, and their prerequisites done. So that's another.
What would they do with that? They'd be a pharmacist?
Yeah, yep. They could be a pharmacist.
Okay.
Yep, with just 2 years.
With an associate's?
Well, you have to get in with the associate's degree, then yes, you still have to, you get accepted into pharmacy school, and then that's another 4 years. But yeah, so minimum 6 years, but most people end up doing it in 8 years. And I decided to take longer than that.
How long ago did you graduate?
I graduated from pharmacy school in 2011.
Okay.
And that was, at the end of 4 years of pharmacy school and 1 year of pharmacogenomics program. And then prior to that, 4 years at a regular, my first degree. So you don't have to do that to be a poison specialist. We hire both, we hire PharmDs, and we also hire nurses or RNs that have a background in either emergency medicine, like they've worked in the emergency room before, or on the ICU, the intensive care unit. So people who have experience in taking care of critically ill people, because we do deal with people who are really sick and overdosing and coming into the emergency room, as well as people from home who thankfully are usually not that sick. But you can go either way to work at a poison control center. A lot of pharmacists are looking at poison control centers where it used to be probably a little bit more nurse centered. And every poison center is a little bit different, but you can at least get to work at poison control with, probably a minimum of 4 years of schooling and then some practical experience, or we do hire PharmDs right out of school.
If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
I want to make clear to them out there, to parents as well as teens, that if they have a question for you and they're 17 and they're afraid, and we're going to get into the various mixes, but they're on Adderall, they drink alcohol, they're on Adderall, and they did cocaine, I know that would be deadly, or something. So are they okay, can they call you without you asking their name or their age? Are they safe to call you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Poison control is a free service, and it is staffed by nurses and pharmacists who are trained in toxicology. We do ask for information such as age and weight, but if you'd like to withhold your name, you absolutely can. And we do have kids, 15, 16, 17 years old calling. We're open 24 hours a day. So we need some of those demographics to be able to give you a accurate suggestion or recommendation. But yes, it's a completely private medical record. It's as if you're speaking to your physician. It's a private medical chart. We don't publish that or share it or call your parents or anything like that. So
what
we're
if
really
they're talking about drugs like cocaine? Do you call the police?
No, we don't. And I try to encourage people when they are sick. Oftentimes, young people especially are worried about going into the ER. And the doctors there and the nurses there are not there to get you. They're not going to do that. They are there to help you. And that makes me so sad when people, do not seek out help when they really need it because they're fearful of that. It's really not their role. It's certainly not our role to call the police.
Okay, wonderful. So I want to dedicate this show to a friend of my son's. They were in China together. He went to an American doctor over there. It was an unfortunate situation. He had pneumonia. They did not do a chest x-ray. When he went in, he described his symptoms very, nonchalantly, like, I can't sleep, I'm coughing all night, and I have a fever. So the doctor there gave him a medication. Now, it was written, I guess, in another language while he was over there. I guess it was in Chinese. He didn't really know what he was taking, but it wasn't going to help with his cough or his breathing. There was no albuterol given or anything that you would need to open up your airways. And instead, the medication did help him go to sleep, but unfortunately it lowered his respirations and he didn't wake up. And the autopsy found that he had pneumonia. So it was very unfortunate because my son felt terrible because he said, if I was there, I would have asked for, a chest x-ray. And, because kids know that today. They know when they can't breathe, they need a chest x-ray. They know they need an antibiotic. This kid did not get an antibiotic. Really healthy, smart kid, studying abroad. So what I wanted to talk about was if they are studying abroad and they have a question, they get a medication from a foreign doctor and they're on medications from home, can they call you guys in the States and say, listen, I don't know what this is. I don't really want to take it. Can they call you?
They can. Before going overseas, I would really urge people just to know how to call 1-800 numbers. You certainly can do that. And drug interactions, that's a topic that we field every single day. And it's a completely appropriate reason to call, just to see in advance of taking the drug or even after taking the medication, was this okay to take with my current regimen? And even for medical advice, we are nurses and pharmacists.
Yes.
So, just saying these are my symptoms, although I'm not a medical doctor, I can say, that really, I tend to
sounds like a breathing problem.
Exactly. And I would be concerned about taking this particular medication and, probably checking his weight against it and seeing where he was and, You know, is there somebody there with you, you know, tonight? And that's terribly unfortunate. But you can call poison control. There are 55 poison centers in the United States. We obviously do Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Washington, D.C. A lot of international calls just get routed to the D.C. Poison Center. It's just the way it kind of works. But if you don't have a cell phone, if you have your regular cell phone there, just call the 1-800. Exactly. Nowadays, thankfully, it's a little bit easier.
It's like,
call the
do you eat? Of course
exactly. You Are you breathing? Yeah. Call the 1-800 number and you'll get through. And again, we're there 24/7, so it doesn't matter what time it is.
Parents should put that in their phones before they go to college.
I really recommend that.
So even at college, they should have it, even if they're here.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're, you know, it's a great service. And
it's
again,
a great
it's
resource.
free,
yes, it
and
is.
it's, you know, and we care.
Oh, yes, especially you. You are incredible. So a PharmD, though, I want to get that straight. That's only 2 years.
That is that is a minimum of 4 years in the PharmD program, but you can have your prerequisites. You could get them done within 2 years and apply to a program that did not require a bachelor's degree, and then become a PharmD. So because I know pharmacy school has become quite a bit more competitive as there have been more opening up, and most schools now do require a degree, but not all of them. And some schools have a special program where their bachelor's degree feeds right into their own pharmacy school. So there's definitely things like that. There are some accelerated programs out there as well. And those are a little bit, you know, it's a lot of information, and, you know, 4 years in itself is a really fast time. So some of these accelerated programs will do it in 3 years altogether, and I think that's pretty tough, but they exist. Yeah.
Okay. So now for you, though. So now you're going to be a toxicologist, right?
I hope so, Marianne. I'm definitely, that's one of my goals is to, so my title now, I am a doctor of pharmacy, and I'm a certified poison specialist. Once you do get hired at poison control, a year after working there, you're kind of under somebody else and you're learning, and then you have to pass a national exam to become certified. And then if you want to, you can work towards becoming a clinical toxicologist, which is what I'm trying to do and what I'm hoping that I can do. So
we know you can do it. You're brilliant.
I hope so. Well, you know, I think a lot of people who go into the sciences are kind of these lifelong learners, and I always want to know more. And so it's really fun for me. But so that entails a whole bunch of other things. You have to do some research. You have to do, you know, some teaching. You have to do some work, you know, in toxicology. So I'm working towards getting there. And then of course there's a huge board exam. That's like a 2-day exam. It's supposed to be pretty intense, but so we'll see. But those are my goals. I've been lucky enough to do some research and do some teaching, and it's all good. But most of all, I love being able to help people, and you know, I feel like I found a place that, you know, the job that I was kind of always looking for.
So I think I asked you this last time, but you don't need a degree in psychology, but yet you need to be kind of a people person, not just, you know, because you're dealing with so many issues.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I think that I think I always say that it would be a really hard job if you didn't just genuinely like people and, you know, think that people at the core of things are good people and in a hard spot. And, you know, you have to take it as a privilege that, you know, people are letting you into their lives, you know, into this window when they're having a really bad day, usually, you know, because something really bad has happened, or their child, you know, your most prized possession has gotten into a poison. So, you don't get any training on that, but, you know, we kind of know, I mean, when we interview people, we do, you know, we want somebody who is personable, who can interact with people, who likes interacting with people, you know, who perks up when they, you know, somebody is, you know, talking to them and joking with them, you know, there's room for those things. It's a very human job.
Yeah, and you can tell if the person on the other side is smiling or grumpy or,
Absolutely.
wanting to help
Definitely.
you or judging you. And I have to say,
Exactly.
every time we've experienced poison control, and especially with you, we never feel judged, and very open and yeah, comforting, so
Yeah.
reassuring.
Yep,
You
we're
feel
not there
safe.
to judge. We're not looking at it from that angle. We deal with some of the most embarrassing and weirdest things, you can imagine. And, you just, that's just, it's life, and, weird
Yeah,
stuff happens. And so we're there to help when it does.
that's awesome. Well, I love what you do. So I
Thank
hope
you.
future students out there decide to do what you do. So how many years, if they go straight through, to become a toxicologist?
Ooh, well, if you if you go my route, you can also become a medical toxicologist and go to medical school, and
Wow.
then do a residency and then a fellowship. So that's a long time. It's a long time. I mean, I can't imagine that anybody would do it in less than like 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a long road, but it's a subspecialty. So it's really, you have to do a lot to kind of get to that point, because it's a big field. It covers a lot of things, and it
It's
takes a long
rewarding.
time. Yeah, I would say it's extremely rewarding.
I mean,
Being
you
a
save people's lives all the time. You save people's kids and college students that need to call you. I know we've done a couple of shows with you on, the do's and don'ts for college students and drinking and drugs. And we appreciate you helping us out with the education and being there for the free call to a specialist that can answer our questions and reassure us that we're going to be okay, or we don't have to go to the
Absolutely.
hospital, or to bring us down, calm us down if we're having a side effect, to maybe, um, you know, a, a heart medication or an antibiotic or whatever
Sure,
it is.
absolutely.
So, or an adverse reaction. That's something too, where, you could call the pharmacist and they might tell you, no, that's not a common reaction. And you can call poison control and they'll say, no, but that's an adverse reaction. And we have seen that before. You're still going to be okay. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
good to know that,
absolutely.
so it's
Yeah.
reassuring.
Yeah, we dig deep, and we try to really explore these questions. And sometimes there's no answers for the questions we're seeking, but you get enough training in toxicology, and you kind of you can you know make a best guess. We don't poison people and see what happens, but we have a lot of case reports and data on what
Right.
happens when people do that. And so we kind of take all that information and try to make a plan.
Yeah. Try and save their life
Yeah.
or help them feel better.
Yeah,
Well, Pela, thank you so much for
of
joining us
course.
today.
Of course,
And
anytime.
do you want to give them any advice?
Just, be open and really try to think about what you like. Something will hopefully grab you, and not everybody goes into college knowing exactly what they're going to do. And don't let that, make you feel like that you're not going to end up, someplace happy. I certainly did not know what I was going to do, and I got here. It took me maybe longer than most, but it's been a great journey, and that's part of the fun. So definitely enjoy yourself and keep your eyes open. Try things. Try new jobs. Try new experiences, and figure out what you're going to be happy doing.
So did you work through school?
I did work through school.
Is school as rigorous as medical school for a potential toxicologist or poison control specialist or pharmacist?
With for pharmacy school, I for my undergrad degrees, I did work through those, and then with my PharmD program, I didn't work as much. I only would work on the weekends, really, and so it was kind of, I think that most of us do have to work in some way.
Or get a
So
loan?
yeah, get loans. Well, I definitely did both.
Yeah.
So
Or now academic scholarships are very big.
Yeah,
give them-
yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's very, if you have to work, try to manage it and try to keep it, as low stress as possible, because you certainly, the most important thing is going to school and focusing on school. So, see what options you have there. And if you're, only, making a little bit of money on the weekends, is it worth your time? And, it's a lot of things to consider.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
You are so welcome, and we'll see you soon.
If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
We are, here 24/7. We are a non-for-profit medical hotline, and we do
Donations help a lot
Yes.
because I'm a big fan. We have to keep them in business.
Absolutely.
There was one time where poison control was in danger.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
This country would be in trouble without
poison controls do a really good service, but we're here for you. Call anytime, and we always appreciate your support.
If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222. Poison is the kind of thing you're not supposed to touch. Oh, prescriptions, cleaning stuff, or spider bites and such. If you swallowed something bad or think you took too much, call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're the people you can trust.
For poison emergencies or just questions, the Poison Control Center hotline is here 24/7 with the expert help you need. Free and confidential. We hope you never need us, but keep our number by the phone.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.